So, having explained the other areas to us, now it's now time for us to start marking. Then how then do we mark? We make sure our trouser measurement or trouser material is being folded into two this way, and then this folding is for the both fronts. So right here, you first of all apply the 2 inches for your hemming allowance. So you mark 2 inches here, extend the line properly this way, 2 inches. Now these 2 inches will serve you for your hemming allowance. Now these 2 inches will serve you for the hemming allowance for the trouser, right? So after the 2 inches now you have marked, the next thing you will do now is to put the length of the trouser, which we had at should be 44. I thought it's 42 on the board. 42 length is what we have. So you mark the length of 42. You mark it here. After the length, the next thing you will do now is to get the crouch, which you already know that the crouch measurement is gotten by 6x4. Because of the person installed, one might not have. So for the 7x4, gave me 11.75. So from here now, you mark 11.75 somewhere here. You go down, then you extend the line this way. Now this becomes my crouch. Now after that, you now apply the real measurement there. So in such cases now, if you find it difficult to locate 11.75, you can just assume it to be 12. That's the nearest whole number. So you can mark at 12. So use it to cut. Then when closing, you now close your desired width measurement. Then extra 2 inches. After that, you go to your waist line. Waist at 8 by 4 is 9.5. You mark at 9.5. Extra 1 inch. Now, you connect the waist allowance to the real hip. Now, in this connection, already you must have verified your measurement to be correct. Now, you will notice that you will have a slanted line from the waist to the hip. The line can never be straight. It must be slanted a bit. It must be slanted a bit. Now, since it's slanted a bit, then if you don't have the line to be slanted, that means your measurement is wrong. Now, whenever you encounter issues of having a corresponding waist to the hip to be straight, it's only when you are doing a rope trouser or on kids, whereby you have the person's waist and hip to be almost the same, or on ladies that tends to have tummy, and then their tummy will now be their shape and which will be bigger than most times their hip. So on some peculiar cases, you can have issues of the waist being bigger than the hip, or the waist being exact measurement than the hip. But on a regular outfit, on a regular human being that doesn't have any issue of obesity or being so fat, you can never have issues of having a bigger waist than the hip. So your hip must be bigger than your waistline. So connecting the waist allowance to the real hip, you now have the line being planted in this form. The next thing you will do now is to raise from the crouch line, coming by 2 inches up. Now this 2 inches point is called the actual hip point. That this 2 inches here is called the actual hip point. Then you have it to be 2 inches from that point, actual hip point. Then after that, from the intercept here, mark 0.5 in a diagonal form inward this way. Then mark it in this form. You have it marked this way, and then make your mark, chalk it to have a curve connected to this point. Now the next thing you will do now is to slant your trouser. The slanting should be half an inch, which I told us that it should not be more than half an inch when cutting. So half an inch is the slanting measurement I have. Then from that point, take it to the tip of the trouser. Right? Then you have your trouser slanted. Now the next thing you will do now is your pocket. Now in my other videos, I must have told you or given you instances where we have a constant values which I call 7, 11, 21, 7 for pocket, 11 for crouch, 21 for knee. Now in most cases, the main area we are prone to adjust is on the crouch. Now the 7 and 21 most times tends to remain the same for almost everybody. But now for your customer as well, you also have to bear in mind that however he is, whether big or small, if you want to make an outfit that will perfectly fit in on him, you must adjust or you must cross check if that 7 will work for him. So for my customer now, I'm going to make a pocket depth of 7.5, optional, but he can still maintain 7 inches. It will still be okay for him. But when you have a bigger person, you are prone or allowed to expand or increase the measurement. Now 7 inches and 7.5 for the depth. Now the upside remains 2.5. The up remains 2.5. Then this is for the pocket, right? Now the next you do now is for the crouch. Now the ankle is 14, so you mark 7 inches here. But now in most cases you might have issues whereby the person might expect it to be a bit bigger. So I always tell people to add ½ inch, optional. But if you're very sure of your measurements of 7 or 14 of your ankle, go ahead to mark 7. But if you know this person might expect me to have it bigger than that, or probably ask for increments, add ½ an inch to it. And then in most cases, if you are sewing your trouser, you tend to have a lesser allowance left on the ankle side. So such issues can be corrected by adding a ½ inch allowance, so that it will help you to lock your trouser properly before you have any issue of correction. So I add half to this, making it 7.5. I mark, then come up a bit, then mark the same 7.5, then raise the line upwards this way. Now this raising, the extent can be, let's say 10 inches from 2 inches inclusive for your ankle. Let's say 10 inches maximum, right? Now after the raising, with the help of your hip curve, you now connect. With the help of your hip curve, you now connect. Now the connection, when connecting, if you make use of this hip curve, don't put the edge of this hip curve first. Push it up, put the body side, because if you put the edge here, the curve tends to shorten the 2 inch allowance you have marked already. It encroaches on the 2 inches which is meant to be left. Now push it up a bit this way, and then making sure that it's going to correspond with the ankle side. Then you mark it in this form and have it in this direction, and then use your hip curve as well to make sure you correspond whatever you have to the other side. So this is my marking, right? Now let me now go ahead to check if my markings are correct. Now bear in mind that my lap is 25. Now on the board is 25 lap. 25 by 2 is 12.5. Now you have to come to your crash area. Now come to the crash area. 12.5 is my lap by 25 by 2 is 12.5. Now check your 12.5 inside your hip area, that's under the crash line. Now your lap must be inside this hip measurement. Now on no account should your lap be outside your markings. So in such cases, now if you have issues whereby the hip was wrong, now this 12.5 to 25 of hip will now be more than the 2 inches you have added. So you have your corrections here, and then you are allowed to make these corrections before you cut the trouser to avoid issues. So had it been probably, I had a lapse of let's say 30, assuming to be 30, which is 15 by 2. So 15 is now outside my hip, which is not proper. 15 is after my hip, which is not proper. So all your lap measurement must fall inside this line. The worst you can have is to have your lap to be exact or to be close to the edge, which is allowed as well. And then bear in mind that the back trouser will not give you allowance or the room to sew your trouser very well. So you can never have issues whereby your lap by 2 is exceeding this line. It's not proper, it's not done. So on such cases, what you should do now is to increase your hip measurement to make sure that your hip measurement is covering your lap measurement by 2. And then that is what I'm trying to explain all this while. And then having seen that my lap is 25.5, which is 25 is 12.5, which is inside my lap and my hip by 4 plus extra 2. That means my lap is correct. Now let's check our knee. Our knee is 18. Now bear in mind that from the waist point to the knee point is always 21 inches. But for my customer now, he's a bit tall, so his waist to knee can be 22, right? So on this 22 mark, now check 18.5. 18 is 9 bar. Now half is 2.5. So even if I have a knee of 19, it's still covered. So that means my markings are correct. But whereby you have your lap to fall outside, your knee to fall outside your markings, you have to now increase your hip and then extend your markings. So these are the areas you should pay attention to make sure you have an appropriate marking and cutting. So if you take your time to watch the video, you'll be able to predict your mistakes before you make them. So after you have cross-checked your lap and your knee, and then even if I want to have a knee of 20 is still inside this my marking, that means I'm correct. Then at the end of the day, while closing now, I will now come and apply 18 and half and then mark. Now the one left will be the inseam allowance. So this is basically what I'm trying to explain to us and then explain to you for you to understand. I believe if you watch this video, it will go a long way to help you to make some corrections and some adjustments and improvements on your cutting processes. So right here, I will now cut and as well show you how to cut the back. So right here, I'm done cutting the back, the front. So I want to place to cut the back. Like you know already, all you need to do is just to cut it out and then flip it over this way. Flip it over this way and then make sure that your trouser is being placed properly. Now, in most cases, you might have issues whereby the Ankara fabric might not be enough to raise the back. Fine. Whatever allowance you have left, make use of it. But if you are working on a plain material or on a plain fabric, you have by 60 length, then you are bound to raise the back by 2 inches. So then make sure that it's lapping properly as it should. Then bear in mind that the back trouser must be 2 inches bigger than the size, right? So you have to just mark your tape 2 inches this way, right? 2 inches this way, 2 inches, and then 2 inches. Make sure you mark it all through on the lap area, 2 inches all through. Then when you must have marked these 2 inches all through, the next thing you will do now is to connect the lines, and then don't forget to use your ruler. Bring out the crouch measurement, the line on the crouch, bring it out from here, place it straight on this way, and then as you can see now, the waist area is not having enough allowance to raise. So whatever I have left here is not up to 1.5, so I will make use of it to raise. So don't bother about that, because this happens often when you're making Ankara trousers for somebody that has length of more than 40, because Ankara is always 45. By the time you put 2 inch allowance at the back, you have reduced it and then it's left with 1 inch. Most times it's almost 42, 43 itself. So right here on the waist area for the back, mark 1.5 on the crotch, on the hip point, mark 2 inches. Then with the help of your hip curve, if you have it, now connect it accordingly, right? Connect accordingly, and then use your hip curve as well. Connect the lines gradually. Connect the first marking to the crouch, to the tip of the crouch. Connect the second line down this way. Connect this one to this point. Go gradually. Make the connections so that you have it properly done. And then this is basically how to mark your trouser with a simple method. And then let's now cut the trouser. So right here, after the trouser, I will also tell you or show you I'll give you the measurement for the band, and then which I believe is still going to be of great essence for you. And then the band measurements I will show you as well, so that you have it in a complete knowledge, and then do the corrections on your measurements, do your cuttings, and then do your sewings, and then come out with a better result than you have been trying all this while. So after I must have cut, I will cut now and then show you the band. So right here, I want to cut the band for the trouser. Bear in mind that it's unfold this way. I always like making it to be a jointed band. The reason for the jointed band, so that in case you have issues whereby the person's waist becomes tight, you can as well increase or adjust it as at when you. So the band measurement in width this way is 4.5. It must be 4.5. Must be 4.5 for you to have a nice. So right here, when you mark your 4.5 this way, 4.5 all through, 4.5 all through, then you connect. Now the length will not be subjected to the waist measurement divided by 2 plus extra 5 to 7 inches. So right here, our waist was at 8 by 2 is 19 inches. So when you draw the line this way, now make sure that you have 4.5 evenly done. Then 38 by 2 is 19, then 19, and then this is 19, so you add extra 5 to 7. Now these measurements I'm adding is constant, they are constant, so as well make sure it's in that form. But whenever you're having a longer band, like you don't want to have a jointed band, now apply the waist plus extra 5 inches, right? So this is how the band should be. So you can cut where you want to have your band. So this for my band. Now I believe the other components won't be a problem for the patch pocket as well. I think I also need to show you so that you don't have a breach of knowledge. This is my material unfold. That's for the two of them. Now the width of the pocket in cutting, cut at 7 inches or 6.5 or 7, but don't cut less than 6 inches. Bear in mind that you are prone to fold both sides by assumingly 1 inch on both sides. So now the depth of the pocket in cutting can be 9.5 or 10. So I cut at 9.5 for the pocket depth. Now bear in mind that this all of this will be unfold, will be folded. So in folding, you now get your desired width, measurement, and depth. So unfolding now, I will fold this area this way and fold it this way. Then the finishing of the pocket must be 5.5 by the depth of 6 inches minimum or maximum rather. So this is for the back patch pocket. Then you mark, right? After that, the next thing you do now is for a belt loop, which I have always told you that the belt loop measurement in cutting is 1.5 inch belt loop, 1.5 inch belt loop, 1.5 inch belt loop. Then the length will now be, bear in mind that each belt loop is 4 inches and there are 6 belt loops on a trouser. So 4 times 6 is 24. So you have to now add extra 1 or thereabout, so that in case one gets spoiled while you are trying to sew, so you not start looking for the material again to cut. So that means you are going to have 1.5 inch width and then length of above 24 or 24 exact. So you cut it. It's 1, right? It's 1 I'm cutting. I always cut all of them at the same time, and then I will make sure I sew them out. So however you want it to be, you are the one to decide on what you actually looking for. So make sure you have it this way, and then your belt loop is done. Now the next thing you will do now is to trim off or to cut out your flap and the pocket facings, which I've always mentioned in my previous videos that these measurements are very essential for you to know all you need, or the actual measurement to use to fix all those stuff. So this is for the pocket facing, the flap. Now the smaller one is always the flap. Now in cutting, the finishing should not be above 3 inches in width, and length should not be up to 11. So it should be within 2.5 to maximum of 10.5 or thereabout. So you make sure you trim accordingly, and then have your marking in that form. So you measure out for you to be sure of what you're looking for. It should not be above 3. So from 2.5 to 3 is actually okay. So let me just trim a bit. So I will have like 2.7 thereabout. Make sure that the base here is straight, because this helps us to fix it on the trouser properly without having any issue. Then mark your chalk to differentiate the front and the back. Now the next thing you will do now is to cut your pocket facing, which should be above 2.5. Now why should it be above 2.5? Bear in mind that you notch the up trouser by 2.5. So whatever you have here that will be able to cover the lining must be above 2.5 so that you can cover the lining properly. So I have it to be at 3 inches, 3.5 most times. So 3.5, 3 inches to 3.5 is very much okay. And then make sure you cut it straight, having this plate to be very straight so that it can correspond with the straight part of the trouser. So this is basically the components you need for your trouser cutting. I think the next video that might be on the sewing processes again, for you to as well be more informed on how to go about this. Thank you for watching, and don't forget this is defined.